You see, separated is an end, but look, together, it's hard to have me for my hair and how thick my hair is. It's hard for me to have like a middle part and then to have my hair puffed out because I would have to have a middle part, slick this back by itself, and then but I'm about to put a pin in this to where I can kind of make it and shape it to where it looks like, yeah, change the whole look. And then I'm about to put uh, my other pins in. Give me a second. I'll pause, y'all. I'll be back. And I'll put my brows on. And y'all, it's late. It's 1:53. I don't know why I decided to like come talk to y'all at 1:53, even though I don't have to be, you know, where I'm going for a little bit. But y'all know I talk a long time and stuff like that. And also, it's graduation night. It's graduation night all this weekend. So, yeah, my bad. My bad. I was just enjoying my bed, chilling and all of that. So I was just like, and I was just like, oh yeah, like I want to talk about this and I want to talk about that. Give me a second. All right, y'all. I'm back. This is the brows. I went from nothing to thick, thick eyebrows today, and dark and full. The joys of makeup. And then I put the things. Let me show y'all my old ones. I told y'all these things are expensive. So look, this is what my old one look like. You see how the metal is changing and stuff like that, and it's just like, and I got it from you know what, and I was like, I could tell this wasn't for made for black people because I wear oils in my hair. I wear products in my hair, and these don't supposed to change color. I knew they was gonna change colors, and I was like, it's only a matter of time before they change colors and stuff like that. And these are for people who wash their like use products to wash and clean their hair, and then that's it. Not a person who actually put oils in their hair, actually put cream pot like curling products and stuff like that. It's not for us. It's not for us. But hi you guys. Hi. It is 2:02 now. It took me a little bit, not too long, to do some simple brows and stuff like that. I do got some concealer. I did buy some concealer before I brought that. But I don't conceal unless I'm going out and stuff like that. I don't conceal my brows. And y'all, I the perfume I showed y'all, I tried to put it on with my whipped vanilla to see if it gives it like a softer scent. But that scent is like a cologne, which I love. I love me a good manly man that wears cologne. And since I put that out there on Instagram, like I was like that I had a man had came in the restaurant and he smells so good. He smelled like, I don't know, the smell just hit me and I was like, oh, he smells good. And I ain't even say nothing to him or anything. I just, took the order and whatever. But I was like, oh, he smelled good and stuff like that. Because most people, I'll be like, oh, like what you have on? Like you smell good. Like I give them that compliment, put a smile on their face or whatever. But, yeah, ever since I said that, and this is just like a monitoring spirit, or like people who's like, oh yeah, like she like a man who smells good. Like I've been smelling like other men who's coming in there and having their cologne on, and I'm like, that's why I'm not on Instagram right now. That's why I haven't like. I posted this morning like early, like 10 or 11, and I told y'all I was just enjoying my bed. Happy May, and I was like, no matter what happens in your life, let me see. Let's see what I said, y'all, because I forgot. I forgot. So I'm gonna have to pee again. I said Happy May 1st, and I posted the War Room, because I had watched War Room a couple weeks ago on one of my weekends, and it was the clip to where the man had a gun and he was trying to rob them, and she was like, she told the man to put it down. So I had posted that clip. It's I was like, it's May 1st. I was like, God is in control of any or is God is in control of any or everything. Any or everything. God is in control of any and or everything. No matter what people say, no matter what people say, God will reveal the truth. In his time, things will come to pass. And then that's just how I feel. I'm just excited about May and what it'll bring and stuff like that. But yeah, like I'm excited about other stuff also. Like I'm just, there's an excitement in my spirit that May has come, and I pray, cuz I don't know, it's a certain thing in my spirit to where, you know, I don't know, y'all. I feel like God is leading me one way, and I can see it going a different way. I don't know how it's going to go. Basically, I don't know how it's going to go, and I'm just trusting God to, you know, give me direction. God would, and no matter the direction that God is like, okay, well, this has happened. This is the way I want you to go. This is happening. This is, and that confirmation and stuff like that. But I just watched Takala's video. I shared her on Instagram because I was like, her word was confirmation to me, because it was some of the things that God had already put on my heart to tell people over on Instagram. I was like, I don't know, y'all. I was talking about the First Kings and all of that and stuff like that, about young prophet and the old prophet, and then I was telling them about Esther, and it was a whole lot of stuff, and I was like, cause I'm on this journey of God putting me with a husband. I'm on this journey of God, revealing different things. I'm on this journey of God, revealing other promises and things I have asked a long time ago that He's going to make happen. So I'm on that journey, and train going by, and I just was getting confirmation from what God has already told me, what God was already showing me. And the thing about it is, she was talking about the life of a prophet and stuff like that. And I had people say that I have a calling on my life, and say that I am going to have I have a strong connection with God and stuff like that, and all of this stuff. Like I had a earlier, like when I was probably like 15, 16, was the first time I had someone say that I had a calling on my life. And then at 20, I think I was like, no, I was like, yeah, at 20, after college and stuff, I had came back and stuff, getting loans and, not really finishing. So I, so at 20, in my 20s and stuff like that, I had a prophet say, you know, keep pushing for the power, keep pushing for the, fighting for, getting to God and getting, the power, because I think that was trying to get, asking for the, the Holy Spirit and stuff like that, for the Holy Spirit to come in and stuff like that. And, I didn't receive him at that time, but he told me, like, he was like, he felt something else, like he felt something else in the spirit about me. And it's true, like I wouldn't say God has not. I feel like I had already had conversations with God, even after like the lady prophesying to me saying that I had a calling on my life, and I'm like, Lord, I don't want to be a pastor. I don't know why I said the first thing. I do not want to be a pastor. I say this on Instagram a lot. I don't want to be called to like people because I'm scared. Like, I'm scared that somebody else's blood will be on my hands and stuff like that. I am scared. I'm honestly scared because it's just like, I don't want to be wrong, and I don't want to be in a sense of where God is going to reject me. Like, I'll feel so bad and I'll feel, sad and stuff. And it's just like, I don't want to be in the place to where God rejects me. But I I I'm a seer. I'm a seer. So I dream a lot, and God is really cultivating to where like he's like, you can't do this. And she was talking about like the life of a prophet and not being able to do this, not being able to do that. But I feel like that's everyone who walks with God and walks with God in the correct way. But when it's in the office of like prophet, pastor, and all of these different things, you have to really fine tooth comb like who you surrounded by. And I keep talking about connections and connecting yourself and being connected to people, but who you are connected to, what are you listening to, what are you watching, and she was talking about that too. And I was saying on Instagram that um I was saying on Instagram that I feel like God is calling me to stop listening to people who curse, because and also I can't listen to people spirit on them, perversion spirit, like like the spirit of perversion. Like, say a gamer or say somebody is talking about like, you know how do I put this? Say a gamer is sitting there and they're being like talking about like all the people who they like, and they talk about like their fantasy person and all of this. Like, you I can't watch them. And then also the gamers who are like sitting there and they be like, oh yeah, look at that. Even though, because some games are very like perverted to where it's just like, they'll make something look like something, and but it be the gamer that sits there and make jokes about just like different things to where it's just like, say like their character dies and their character bent over and they playing with friends, and or say they playing like a golfing game, and they're sitting there like, oh, you hit the ball in my hole. That's like like is and then they're laughing about it, and then they're like, oh, you like that hole. Like, that's, they think it's funny, but it's also creating, like when it comes to mentally, kids watching that, and it's creating these, different things self-consciously that you shouldn't even laugh at or think it's funny. So yeah, God is pulling me back. God is pulling me back from dealing with that type of situation and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, like, I don't know, like, I don't know if God would come to me and be like, "Oh, you're a prophet," but I know God has given me gifts, and I walk in my gifts, and my gifts have like, I think I posted I forget his name, but I'll put his name on the screen. I had posted him and I was like, how do you, marry someone who's, you know, have gifts, or have these different things, have the gift for discernment, have, God would give them a dream and show them, like, if you doing something, like, how do you marry someone like that? Because I had like I said, my husband watched me, and there's been some times to where God is like, you have to talk about this, and I can be, just letting my husband live his life and stuff like that. I'm not sitting back watching him, and I be minding my business. I've been doing what I need to do with with God and stuff like that. And God is like, you need to talk about this. You need to talk about how you felt, and you need to talk about how what you seeing in, like in the spirit, like what you seeing in the spirit, to where it's just like, it's not right. And then it's like, I come on camera, and then God is giving me, like, hey, like, this is what I saw and this is how I felt. And I was like, we are idolizing, especially with the Valentine's Day thing. I was like, we are idolizing that day. Like, we're idolizing that day. And, because people had already been talking about, like, hey, like, I don't celebrate this, I don't celebrate that. And I was like, even from Halloween, and I was like telling, like, Instagram, like, I don't celebrate this, or I don't celebrate this and stuff like that. But they was helping me understand, like, even with, like, Halloween candy, ghosts and skulls and all of these things being on packages, and from that day, because, like, just like necromancy, we talking to the dead and stuff like that, and we don't celebrate the dead. And that's why God, so many funerals are so backwards now, to where it's just like, we're celebrating the life of the person and stuff like that. We're celebrating, like, death. Like, no, it should be a time to where it's sad, and a time to where we're thinking about the life of that person. But turning up after they die and stuff like that, it's just like, we kind of, and that's going into a whole nother thing, to where it's like, people be mad at you for what you say. And her video is like, people be mad at you because stuff be coming to pass. And it's just like, yes, like, God, yeah, we be celebrating death. Like, we be celebrating death. And it's just like, no, we celebrating the life of this person and stuff like that. No, when the person was living, you didn't celebrate them. But in death, it should be a time of mourning. And then after the mourning, it should, we should go on and live our lives. But I cannot say, because I told God, I was like, I'll tell my testimony. Because, like, when I had to call in, I took it serious and stuff like that. But at the same time, I was disobedient. I was in a lot of stuff. Like, but God didn't let me go too far. Like, God had me on the leash for sure with what He allowed me to be in myself, my free will. But He taught me some lessons. He taught me some lessons for sure. I got smacked and sit down sometimes. I always say I got smacked, I got put in timeout. And, I'm just now, into 2025, into 2026, understanding what the cycles that I needed to break, the things that I needed to, ring in and stuff like that. But I have been called, like, she's not close to God, she's not this, and she ain't that, and it's just like, okay, like, if you don't feel that way, don't, go ahead. And even when I went to that revival, I think the revival thing with my sister and stuff like that, I did a video, like, I think I did a video, because I was here, and I was like, I'm going to church and it's been 3 years. I'll post a little clip. It's been 3 years, and it was a revival, but they had, like, a prophet there and stuff like that. He looked me dead in my face. I was still in the mess. I was still in mess and stuff like that. And, still repenting every day to God. He looked me dead in my face and he was like, he was like, your family's, because my sister took my niece up there to get prayed for and stuff like that. And he was like, your families are going to make a difference. Stay together. Your families are going to make a difference. Y'all going to do great things and stuff like that. And I was just looking. Like, I didn't go up there to altar. I didn't, but he could be talking about me and my sister doing great things and stuff like that. Or he could be talking about my family that, me and my husband and stuff like that. But I know, and that's kind of God reiterating what I was, what someone said. What someone said to me at 16, because she was like, the generations, she was talking about the generations after you, the generations are gonna be different, the generations. So the generation starts with family. So yeah, like, I don't plan on, let me not say that. But, I plan on, having, I'm sure my kids are going to have spiritual gifts. Like, will they be called into ministry? I don't know. I just told God, like, hey, like, I told God, if he does call me into ministry or anything, I'll be out there on the streets. I will be out there on the streets. Because I was like, I already seen at a young age that people are hard-headed. I already see, and I've been hard-headed too, so I give grace where grace is needed. I give grace where, God tells me to give grace. So I've been hard-headed too, so I understand, but it's a difference from talking to people out that, in churches or that already know right from wrong, but they decide to do wrong. Those sheep are, those sheep are different. And sometimes God will say, like, these people is not even, my people. But I don't know, it's easier talking to people who are, just lost their way or need to be redirected, because who was gonna redirect me? Like, if other than God, and I had to be redirected by God, I for sure help God, be like, hey, like, this person just needs a redirection back to me. I already knew of God, I just didn't know God. And I just needed some redirection and to understand who he was, a personal relationship to him. I needed someone to open the door. And it was just me and God for a second. And then, I connected to, she was a prophet. She called herself a prophet. So, that was a door to where it was open to where I can connect to God. And then it was like, yeah, she prays and she's with, she's here and there and she says this, but I want my own relationship. And that's the main thing I heard with, before I connected myself with her, is people saying, get your own relationship with God. Take everybody back to God. Get your own relationship. So you get your own relationship with God, and then no one can steer you away from God. No one can steer you away. No one can say, like, yeah, what you doing, is like, you can be like the young pastor, the young prophet and the old prophet. Yeah, what you doing is the right way, or you can come at, they can't tell you the wrong way when God has already told you the right way because you have your own relationship. And that's what I did. I got my own relationship with God. So I can say I'm in the giftings because I had a few run-ins. Like I would, because even with some certain things that came out of my mouth, I didn't know that my husband would be going through or saying, because I wouldn't know that my husband would be going through, and I would tell God, like, Lord, if I knew he was going through that, I wouldn't have said nothing. But God would separate, like, I wouldn't be, worried about him. I wouldn't check in on him or be like, what he's doing now, Lord, or what he got going on. And God will have me see just people, especially with the idolization, the idolization of, just holidays and how it becomes like, people do this like big celebration and all of this, and I have to get this, or my day is ruined and I have to do this, or it's not a good day, and it's just like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? So I think that, and I say I think, I think that God just really be having me say stuff, and then um it it either hits me or it hits somebody else, and it's just like, how do you become married to someone who has prophetic gifting, not prophetic, not I haven't been called into the prophetic, but I have prophetic gifting. Like, how do you be married to someone that's just gonna be like, oh well, this is gonna happen, or I had a dream about this and stuff like that, or my discernment of, like, I don't know, something was wrong about this situation. I feel like it's gonna mess up. It's so funny because I had a coworker. She was like, I lost my keys, and she was looking for her keys and stuff like that. And I feel like they be using me, y'all. They be using me. No, I'm just playing. But she was looking for her keys and stuff like that. And I kind of just went quiet. And she was like, I don't know where my keys. I've been looking for my keys. And I was like, check your car. I was like, is they in your apron? She's like, no. Is they in the room? No. I was like, check your car. Check your car. Is it in your car? And it's bad. It's really bad. And she came back. I think she came back the next day, and she was like, I was like, did you find, I think it was her keys or her wallet. I was like, did you find it? And she was like, yeah, it was in my car. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, like, that's just me. Like, that's just, like, I told God to use me. I told, like, God is going to use me in the way he wants me to be used. I don't know if that's helping people to be like, it's this place, or don't do that. I don't know if that's helping people. I guess it is, but she was, oh yeah, it was a car. She was frustrated about losing a car, and I was like, I asked her, was it a few places and stuff like that, and I was like, it's in your car. I was like, go check your car again. And then she was like, I found it. It was in my car. Like the next day or the next time I saw her. And I was like, and to me, that's just nothing. That's just like, it's, I just like, it's in your car. It's in your car. If you can't find it's in your car. But, I don't know. Like, how do you be, and I feel like, I feel like my husband do have spiritual gifts, and if my husband is gifted in the way that I am gifted, it's not gonna bother me much for him to tell me, like, hey, like, you know, this friend that you connected with, or this person that you connected with, is not someone you should be around. And I had a dream about them, and they was doing this and they was doing that, and I'd probably be sitting there like, oh, for real, you had this dream? I was like, well, that sounds like God is telling you da 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 da. Like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't be offended by it, but I feel like, and that's why I always tell y'all, like, I try to be not to dim my light, but I try to walk in a way to where it's just like this. Like, I feel like my giftings is a thing to where it's just like not gonna run him away, but I feel like I try to walk in a way to where he's not looking at me like how would she know that, or how would she, and it's just like most of the time I don't, like, we don't even be like this to for me to know. It's just God be like telling me, and I be like, God, you know what, he gonna be mad. Like, he's gonna be mad, because like if it have anything to go with like what he's going through, or anything like that, yeah, he probably gonna be like, you know what, like, Lord, how she know that? And it's just like, God tell me. And all I can do is be like, I'm sorry. like especially if someone is, you know not receptive, and she talked about like people not being receptive, or people not listening until it comes to pass, and stuff like that. And you never want something to come to pass, and you listen to it, and God sends a prophet, actually a prophet, or anybody to warn you that's close to them, because it could be anybody who's working in those gifts that God gives out. um you don't want to just dismiss it. You want to be careful, and you want to ask God and take it back to God and be like, God, like, what was that? Or, like, how did that come to pass? Or, how did this person know that, and stuff like that? And most of the time, people who come up to someone or say something to someone, most times the person will already be done told God, like, hey, like, God, like, I'm struggling here, and or, hey, God, I need some encouragement here, or, hey, God, like, and that person be done come up to him and be like, hey, God told me to tell you, or, hey, what you like, are you okay? Like, you know and you don't even have to say God told me, because that's the thing, to where it's just like, I don't know what God will, where God will place me, or if God is gonna, like, I asked him, like, if he's going to let me be able to just tell my testimony, and to help the people who need like a little redirection, because I needed a little redirection. But instead of having other people to surrounding me to redirect me, I had to be redirected by God. And not knowing how God is speaking, not knowing how God is talking to me in certain years of my life, I had to learn how God talks, and how God speaks, and how all of that. And then it's just like, now that I know how God talks and how God speaks and stuff like that, I can understand like his voice and stuff like that. And now I also had to watch out, because at the same time I gotta go use the bathroom. It's 2:33 now. I have to, ooh, y'all, I just messed up with this video because I talked over the minutes. Oh Lord, it ain't gonna come off like, I'm gonna have to edit this video on the thing. Let me go use the bathroom, y'all. I'll be back. All right, I'm for sure going to have to edit this video on the phone. Dang it. I forgot. I was just going, y'all. But yeah, like, how do you marry someone with spiritual gifts? God be telling them like what, and I feel like even with like godly unions and God bringing people together, God is gonna tell them, God, because I feel like God is not putting us together for no reason. So God is gonna tell them. Like I remember, should I tell? I probably shouldn't tell that, but I remember a time to where my husband, like it was a lot, y'all. It was a lot. But um yeah, God is gonna tell the person or vice versa, like what you doing or what all you have going on in certain aspects. And it's just not I know some people be like, well, God wouldn't do that. God wouldn't but yes, if you connected to this person and God wants them to know something, God wants them to, you know, come out of what they're my oil running down my forehead. God wants them to come out of what they're doing and stuff like that. God will, you know, they may get mad. They may be like dismissive. They may do a lot. But you know, it's okay. Like you don't want, like, even if I'm not called to the prophetic, I work in my prophetic gifts. I told, even with the like Valentine's Day thing, I told God, I was like, Lord, I wouldn't have talked about idolatry at that time. I was like, if it wasn't for you putting it on my heart to tell like the experience that I went through and the idolatry of that day and people getting mad about, you know, not being able to get reservations and not be having to wait for their food and stuff like that. Let me put it to like, I wouldn't have talked about it. And I also talked about like just celebrations of like different things and stuff like that. I was like, Lord, at that time, I wouldn't have talked about that. I was like, I wouldn't have talked about that. But I had already been talking about from like October, like talking about like just holidays in general. And then, you know, I got confirmation on that. And then then he put it in like like all those holidays hit for me because, you know, I was out in the public instead of just like at home, you know, chilling. So out in the public, but like, yeah, like I was out in the public, so it was just like, you know, I like, even then, like, I don't know how Valentine's Day would look. I don't know how, you know, these holidays will look because for me and my family, because, you know, that's just God telling me like, hey, like we shouldn't even be like putting this day to where it's just like, oh well, if I don't cook this, is a bad day. If I don't do this, it's a bad day. If I don't have this type of food, it's a bad, like people be feeling bad because, you know, they can't cook like all this spread of food that people get. And then let me tell y'all about like Christmas and Thanksgiving. People, you know, are upset because, you know, they can't provide like this big meal, and this is just corporations making us, you know, like making these holidays so we can buy different products and have like all these products on our thing, and we should have these products, and this is what this day calls for when it isn't. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day that you breathe in. This is the day that you walk in. This is the day that you have sight, have movement, all of these things. This is not a day that you should feel bad that I don't have like this 100,000 things of food, mac and cheese, spaghetti, you know, turkey, ham, dressing. Like, you shouldn't feel bad that you don't have all of this stuff. And then people are upset and saying like, well, you should throw it out in 3 days. What are you talking about? It took you 2 or 3 days to cook the food. Like, it took you 2 or 3 days to cook the food, and you're sitting here saying, well, you shouldn't be eating it past a week. You shouldn't be eating it past this time. But what about the people who do not have the food to waste. You telling them to just throw it in the trash instead of like giving it to maybe a homeless person? Like, I had more than enough. Like, let this go to a homeless person that doesn't have it. Let this homeless person feel, you know, thankful that they have food this year. You telling me you're just, after 3 days of eating Thanksgiving or Christmas food, you're gonna throw it away? You shouldn't cook too much. That's over consumerism. That's what these holidays create. I'm sorry. Lord, I just went on a tangent. But it's the realest thing ever. It's and I don't know how, these holidays will look for my family. Will my husband be okay with that? I don't know. I don't know. Will he be seeing me celebrate it? Like, I'll be there. Like, I would be there. But um I don't know, y'all. I don't know. So it's up in the air. It's up in the air. I'll be putting gold and silver on y'all because of these little head things. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't even know how like, I'd rather celebrate my birthday than Valentine's Day. Last year I was like, Lord, I don't care that my husband missed Valentine's Day. I care that he missed my birthday. Like, I straight up told God, I was like, I care that he missed my birthday. I care that, I wasn't told happy birthday too. Um that's what I cared about. You know, I wasn't, he wasn't able to be there with me to celebrate life, another year of life. And thank God that, I'm still living, because I went through a lot in November of 2023, 2024, just because, 2023 for sure, because October, got my leg broke, went through emergency surgery for the first time. November the 15th, after my birthday, got the rods taken out. Still went through surgery to get plates and screws in. So I that's that's the thing that celebration of life. That's really what, I was like, well, I wish that, he was able to, tell me happy birthday and, here to celebrate life with me. Like, I couldn't care less about Valentine's Day. I really care less about Valentine's Day. But I was eating chocolate and stuff, and I had uh I didn't have anything. Well, my flowers kind of had the colors of, that day or whatever they say, but I was eating chocolate and stuff and chilling, chilling. Even though I was, surrounded by people who was entitled, idolization of the holiday. But yeah, I don't know how holidays will look, but I know I'm not teaching my kids to idolize it. We'll probably be going helping the community or something during the holidays, taking trips, something. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I know sometimes my gifts kind of impede or my husband, and God be telling me stuff about him, and then my husband be looking like, not like, sorry, sorry, sorry. Even especially my dream that I had, I was just like, I already had gave him a warning about it. I tell y'all all the time, I gave him a warning and like, hey. And I guess I was looking at something beforehand, or maybe I wasn't looking at something. Maybe I was looking at something, that was happening throughout, but he only knows. Like, that's why I say, like, most of the time I can't talk about everything that coexists with my husband and stuff like that. Also, because of people who will try to attack it and try to, be like, is her husband coming? Is her husband not coming? Is like when he coming, or trying to get that knowledge and trying to disrupt something and trying to come against it. But also, my husband is not here to tell his side of the story. So I don't know, like, in the dream I could tell like my side, to where it's just like, my husband sitting there watching me, get ready and change clothes and stuff like that. I could tell that side of the story. But when it comes to, the other part that had to do with him, I can't tell that side of the story because I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was something that was persistent or something that was future. Cause like, God do give me dreams about the future, and it could have been something that was gonna happen in the future that, I told. And yeah. And I kind of getting revelation that, I don't think I told that story over here. So y'all have to go, well, on Instagram to see that. So, but it was a 3-stranded cord that wasn't, that wasn't what God wanted in the dream. That's it. Yeah. I didn't do nothing about it because it wasn't on my end. It was on my husband's end. So, you hunch my shoulders again. I don't know. Like, I couldn't control that. That was something that he probably would have had to, hear it from me, and then be like, okay, God, like, what is she talking about? Like, he probably, if it wasn't like a thing that was happening beforehand, already, actively there, it was something that was going to happen in the future. And he was supposed to take precaution, and you'd be like, okay, like, she said this, she said that. I need to take precaution, because I would love for my husband to have spiritual gifts and be like, hey, like, him sending me a message and being like, hey, like, I had this dream about you, or, I seen this in a dream, and, be aware of it, take caution in it. But I don't know how he, especially if he's not, walking in his gifts just yet or whatever. I don't know how he's handling me already being like, hey, like, this just a dream that God gave me, husband. Like, take it back to, be upset with God. Don't be upset with me, please, because I, like, this is what God gave me. Look, I don't even know how he gonna handle the dream I had March 10th. Like, I'm gonna post it. Where we was in the school, like, and it's funny because I told God, I was like, what? Why do I always have dreams of this man kissing me? But yeah, I always have dreams that he's kissing me. But yeah, so I don't know, y'all. But how do you handle someone who's, you know, prophetic, have prophetic gifting, or not even have prophetic gifting, just have gifts of this, gifts of the spirit? How do you handle that? Because I feel like if I was called to the prophetic, I would, like I told y'all, I said I don't see how people who see the demons like outside of the person, like see the demon sitting there and all of that. I don't see how God I don't see how they operate. I don't see how they handle that and stuff like that, because I will be emotional. I will be emotional and be like scared, but at the same time I'll be like, we need to pray. We need to you know, we need to pray and all of this and stuff like that. So um yeah, like, ooh, I don't see how people do it. I don't see. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I don't want to, like, the thing about preachers and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people, took like went to learn the Bible and went to, you know, study the Bible, and it was like, I want to be, a preacher. But most of them wasn't called to preach. So, and I don't understand, people who like romanticize that lifestyle, because it's hard. Like, and it's hard being a preacher's wife, and I don't understand like these mistress being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take him from his wife, he's a preacher and stuff like that, I'm gonna marry a preacher. Like, why would you want that lifestyle? Like like, why would you, like, most of the times preachers are, they're called to so many other, like, when it's like the sheep leading a flock, like, they have to be on call like a doctor. Like, they have to be on call. Like, hey pastor, like, this person is, like, how many trips I done took with we going to see people who are like mothers in the church, or ushers who have been ushers. How many trips I done took with my pastor to go see them in the hospital. Like, and I don't even like I don't like hospitals. I really don't like hospice. I don't. And maybe that's why I have like this weird thing when people pass away. Like, you know, it's sad. Because it really, I felt sad for my dad and stuff like that. But when people are in hospice and stuff like that, it's just like, oh Jesus, like you, because they in hospice, and the only thing they doing is medicating them with pain medicine and keeping them keep it's sad. It's sad. I don't like hospice. I don't like hospitals either like that. And that's why I say I cannot imagine someone who's called to the prophetic, who is walking up and down. And I was telling my story of, you know I was telling my story about how I seen a man who was just sitting there, but I knew he had spirits on him, but I can't see the spirit, and I can't tell like what the spirit is. Like, I can't tell, like, oh, it's the Leviathan or it's the Python spirit. It's the, I can't tell those spirits, but I can tell, like, yeah, like, this person got a spirit on them because they get agitated. And it's just like, I'm not called to the prophetic. God hasn't came to me and been like, hey, like, you're called to the prophetic, but I walk in those giftings. And I know that spirits, like the demons, do not like me. The demons do not like me at all. They don't like me. They don't like me. And I learned that from the 2024 incident. Like, y'all, I be telling y'all stuff without telling y'all stuff that I'm going through. I learned it from the 2024 incident. And God should have smacked me for that one. Because I'm like, anything that I have to deal with dealing with the 2024 incident, I'm like, Lord, I should have been smacked for that. Like, that was my bad. That was me not using discernment. That was me, not even thinking. And it's just like, Lord, all I can do is apologize. Like, I like, Lord, all I can do is apologize for just me not even using my discernment and thinking that was okay. And he gave me so many clues, so many hints not to do it. And I still did it. Hard headed. And that's why I was like, you know, I wouldn't want to be caught, because, like, you see so many people being hard headed, or so many people just like turning a blind eye to stuff. And it's just like, why are you doing that? I put too much on now. But yeah, so I don't know, like, I don't know. But yeah, I be trying to be like, but God won't, like, if God gives me something, God won't tell me it's about my husband. God be like, God won't let me rest until I say it. Especially, God is gonna keep bringing it up and stuff like that until, like, I say it. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. But yeah, let me get up off of here. Like I told y'all, it's graduation weekend. It's Friday, May 1st. I'm so happy that it's Friday, though. Thank God. We made it to a new month. But yeah, I just know I'm called to something, y'all. I'm called to something. I may not know quite what it is or whatever. I just use my gifts, and I don't try to use them for bad. I don't try to be in, like, people who be like, let me see what God has to say for you, or, let me see what God has for you, or I'll try to, go to God on your behalf. I feel like those type of people, and that's why I had to, get my own personal relationship, because it's just like, I don't feel like that is, God will tell you about people, but yeah, it doesn't get to the extent to where it's just like, let me act, you up here treating it as, I can go to God and ask about all your lives, and, I can, you know, see what he has to say and stuff like that. I don't know, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe God does let every prophet be in other people's business, and, and I don't think most prophets want to take on that responsibility of of I can ask God about what you're going through and all of this, and it's just like, I think a prophet's job is to, you ask God yourself. I can lead and direct you in all of this, but you have to go to God yourself and gain that personal relationship, because you can't always lean on a prophet. But yeah, God does tell people about, especially when God wants you to be connected to someone. I'm sure I told God to tell my husband about me. And probably my husband knows the good, bad, and the ugly. I told God, I was like, Lord, well, I was like, if this my husband, let him know the good, bad, and the ugly. Let him know. Like, let him know what he needs to know about me. And that's one of the things I prayed for, because I didn't want to get hurt. So it's just like, let him know about me so he can know how not to hurt me. Let him know all the information he needs to know so he doesn't end up, hurt my feelings. Sure this my person? Like, you sure this my person? You sure you are calling us to be together? And then once you get that confirmation, and I pray that you, like, this is me telling you from my testimony, I pray that you stand 10 toes down on what God has told you, and not try to do things of your own free will, because then you getting slapped again by God, and he telling you like, hey, no, this is your person. Stand for this person. So sometimes you have to wait. You wait for confirmation. You wait for confirmation. And do not go into free will and do something that, you end up feeling bad for or guilty for. But at the same time, your person already knows. Your person already knows that, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't intentional, especially if God is calling you two to be together. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't intentional. We wrestle against principalities, not flesh and blood. And most people, like, it can be the smallest little hint of thing, and then it can just spiral. So be careful with praying. That's just something I prayed, but I was strong enough to handle, if I get that slap in the face of like, okay, God, like that went left. That went left real quick. That went left real quick. And, you just end up just having to stand and pray and fight and intercede. You can, distance yourself, because you distance yourself and you pray and you fight. And that's why I was like, I really like, who am I without being fighting, without praying, without worrying? Who am I? Who am I? So it's gonna be interesting when y'all see that other side, to where it's just like, I don't know, because I put on a brave face. I come on here, and I'm just, in a good space, in a good headspace. So, how do I look when, because God gives me that peace, that joy. So how do I look when God has, taken a little bit of the weight off my shoulder? Because like now he has taken a little bit of the weight off my shoulder, but it's just like, God, like, what now? Like, what we doing now? Like, what is next? Like, have you built me up? Have you trained me enough for this next season? And I've been through a couple seasons with God and stuff like that, of refining and cleaning and stuff like that. So that's why I'm like, God hasn't called me to the prophetic, but I do have gifts. I do have gifts to where some of the things that, prophetic people, visions and dreams and, being a seer, that's a, and I think that's what he was talking about, just being a seer. And how do you marry someone with that gift and stuff like that? Because I do walk in that gift, and I have to, like, the gifts of dreaming. The gifts of dreaming. So I don't know, like, with that dream that I had in December, I don't know if that was an active thing that my husband was going through, or if it was a thing that was gonna come, like, in the future, because it was December 2025. So yeah, that's something that I have to, and that's why most of the time I'm not talking about him. I'm not saying nothing, because look, I don't know if he's gonna get offended. I don't know how he's gonna take it. I don't know how. You don't know, especially when God is connecting someone to you and they don't understand your gifts, or they don't understand, like, okay, well, how did she know that? Or, thinking it's something else when it's not, and all of that. So, which is just like, okay, you think it's something that it's not. And when people think it's something that it's not, you just have to let them think it's something that it's not until it comes to pass. And then even when it comes to pass, they be mad at you because you sit there and told them and you said something, and now they mad at you because it came to pass. And that's what she was saying, like, now they mad at you because it came to pass, and you was telling them, and you was warning them and stuff like that, and it's just like, what can you do? Like, what can you do? I don't know, y'all. But let me get up off of here. My little forehead shining and stuff like that. Yeah, y'all know I have to keep being prayer. I just seen a message where it says pray before you go to work. I told y'all they tried to set me up. They tried to set, and it's not even funny. Like I told y'all, I keep a good face. I keep a good face on and stuff like that. But they tried to set me up and tried to make me look like I was responsible, and it's just like I was the bad person. I did something wrong, and I was just like, how? I ain't even I ain't even been here. I ain't even been here. So y'all, I stay prayed up and stuff like that. It is is it busier? Yeah, of course it's busier. It's easier. Yeah, I had to pray. I had to pray. Cause certain people to be there that just, yeah. I like my eyebrows today. I liked them yesterday too, but this a little bit off though. We gonna leave it. But yeah, I like my eyebrows today. My nose is itching. But yeah, y'all, let me get up off of here. Let me pray and stuff like that. Let me pray for his big headed self. But yeah, that's why I don't talk about my husband much, because, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Cause next thing you know, I'll be done said like some stuff that he think I shouldn't know, or some stuff that God done told me, and he's like, how she even know that? How she even know that? But I feel like that dream in December, I feel like it wasn't for something that was actively happening. It was for something that was gonna happen in the future. But I had to wait for my husband to give me that confirmation that, it was something that was gonna happen in the future, and it happened. And all I can do is pray for him, because I don't know when it's gonna happen or if it already happened. I feel like it already happened, and that's when I was going through some spiritual stuff. So yeah, the the joys of being close to God, and in the walk of God, and having a union that God is calling to be, come together. But I wouldn't change it for nothing. I still smile. I still have joy. I wouldn't change it for nothing, because I love that man. But like, I wish I was able to tell him the dream before, and we can talk about the dream before, I was like, telling people like, hey, like, if you're, you know, I had a dream of, how my spouse was, telling me like, hey, like I was changing clothes, like change your garments, your garments is about to change, your, no, not putting new wine skin in the old wine skin. So I had that in December, and I was just getting, like I told you, I was just getting it together in the end of the end of 2025. Like I just found out that he was for sure my husband. 2025, the end of 2024 to 2025, like I for sure knew that, like, okay, this man is my husband. This man is my husband. So that's when I fully knew that God wasn't playing, and I had to get it together. So I had to and then by the end of 2025, I was getting it together, y'all. I got it together. So I don't know if God will call me into, you know, the prophetic or have put that calling or whatever on my life, but I know I walk in my spiritual gifts, and people don't like that. The demons don't like that. The demons don't like how close I am to God, how I be praying and stuff like that. And that's why I was like, who am I if I'm not warring in the spirit? Who am I? Who is Sylvia? Who is Sylvia if I'm not warring in the spirit? If I'm not praying for something or talking about something that God brings to my attention. Oh, we also, I guess I'll talk tomorrow about, I guess connections again and being connected to someone. Um, because I'm grieving. I'm grieving. I'm grieving somebody. And the lady who opened the door to me to get closer to God, even though got closer to God on my own. Like when I say I was Esther fasting, starving, and when nobody bothered me, okay? I was legit fasting and hungry, starving, and I done had got used to fasting so much, but I was starving, and that's honestly took all that weight off of me too. Like I used to starve and Esther fast. But not only 3 days, but Esther fast. And nobody would bother me. Nobody would have nothing to say. Nobody would try to take jabs. That's why they say don't tell when you fasting and stuff like that. Because the devil will try to take jabs at you and stuff like that. Or find out what you praying. Like he'll try to, mess you up with what you praying for and stuff like that. So yeah, I used to fast, y'all. I used to fast. But yeah, let me get up off of here because I do gotta go out. Those buses going by. But I love you guys. I'll see y'all later. I guess I'll tell y'all tomorrow. Hopefully, tomorrow's a 3 o'clock day. I don't know if I'll make it. I don't know if I'll make it because right now it's 3:18. So tomorrow's a 3 o'clock day. But the one that's caught red-handed is not gonna be there. So that's good. That's good. Those be my good weeks. But I love you guys. I'll see you guys later.